first YouTube video ever. I am posting a tutorial on how I did my wedding makeup. Now, I am not a makeup expert, I am not a beauty blogger or anything of the sort, but I do really love makeup. Spending years in theater, I've kind of picked up a lot along the way from having to do crazy makeup. A lot of my friends are makeup artists and just very passionate about it, and so I really like it. The one thing, when I was trying to decide what I wanted to do with my makeup, I obviously felt inexperienced, so I was trying to find other people that had, and I had spoken to some people who had, but I couldn't find any like videos on YouTube or anything beyond like a makeup artist or beauty blogger posting something that was fantastic but not quite at my level. So that's kind of why I wanted to make this video, to show you guys what I did with very little skill and education in makeup. So a lot of the things kind of range in price, from like cheap drugstore items to fancier Sephora items. The one thing I would recommend is go to Sephora, because you can try so many different things. The staff there are usually really helpful depending on where you go, but even without that, their return policy is great, so you could try something. Like I tried a few blushes and a few bronzers that I didn't like, and I was actually able to return them. Obviously I didn't use the whole thing. Granted, the return policy you probably could, but that gives you a little bit of leeway. So one of the biggest tips I got from photographers and from people that had done their own makeup was not to use anything with an SPF, which I know is like kind of bad, but the SPF will react in like flash photography, I guess. And so I did not. I just used a regular moisturizer. But the primer that I did find was actually awesome. Very, very affordable. The most recommended I asked a couple people, I asked like a poll on Instagram. The most recommended was the e.l.f. brand that you can find at Target and I think like CVS and Walgreens. And the one that I ended up using, I tried two different ones. There was like a purple cream that's also great, but the one that I used for my wedding day is their Oil Control Primer Mist. e.l.f. Ooh. See, this is where I'm not a beauty blogger. How do I get it to focus? And so I just misted it over my face, and I used my little beauty blender. That I think this is like the beauty blender brand. Next step I did was foundation. I haven't worn foundation beyond shows in years because I don't like the way it feels on my face, but I knew I wanted one for the wedding. And so I had found one, and I thought it was really weird and interesting at first because it's a stick. So this is the Hourglass, and so it's like a foundation stick, which is kind of fascinating. Almost like looks like a giant concealer, but it's not. And it has really good coverage, but it also doesn't go on, it doesn't feel crazy thick. So I just did a little bit of this. And then again, I went in with my beauty blender. I dampened it a little bit at the top, and then I just blend. A little bit more even, but it's not like thick and cakey and like a totally different color from my face. I don't feel like I can feel it. I really, really, really love this foundation, and I'm so happy that I discovered it. I got it from Sephora, so again, if you don't like it, you can always return it. As one of the staff helped me pick out the right color, and I really love it, and I would highly recommend it. I definitely use it more often than I used to use foundation for literally years. So next step is my favorite concealer of all time. I have very dark purple under eye circles. They look, I mean, a little bit red too, which I'm sure you could see before I put foundation on. You can still see them now. So concealer has always been something that's really, really important to my makeup routine. And this one I have also heard recommended from so many people, and for good reason. It's the Tarte, the Shape Tape Concealer. Look, I did it! I'm a beauty blogger. And this, I have the color light. I have very, very fair skin, but I try not to go too much lighter. And so I just put a smidge under my eyes. Here, a little bit on my nose, forehead, and my chin. Now, on the day of my wedding, I I don't know if this is a real thing, but it seemed to work to me and it made me feel better. I put a little bit of this misting primer on my beauty blender before I started blending in my concealer. And on my wedding day, I did do 2 coats of concealer. I used just a second, like a light coat, just because I wanted to make sure it was gonna last all day, but I didn't want it to be too much lighter than the rest of my face. Okay, and then to set my concealer, I used this Lawless Loose Setting Powder. I had used, I believe it was RMS for a long time, but I found this actually at the checkout at Sephora. The setting powders last a really, really long time, and I know that this brand is a clean beauty brand, so I wanted to incorporate as much of that as I could, and I really, really liked it. So I took a little dab of this on my beauty blender and then dabbed it along my under eyes, again to make sure that that concealer lasted all day. Now we are concealed. Okay, now I use 2 different products for my eyebrows. I have very light eyebrows. You can see them very well with this lighting, but in pictures they don't always show up very well, so I wanted to make sure they're very defined, and I like to do them a smidge darker than you might expect. So I used 2 different products. One to like give you the first overall like swipe, and that's the Anastasia Beverly Hills Dip Brow Pomade. I really, really like this. I've been using this for a few years. This one I got in the soft brown, which is a bit darker than I normally go, but I really liked it. And I take a little brush and I take a little bit. It's really, really, really thick. Like it's actually like a jelly texture, maybe thicker. And so I just take a little bit, I'll brush it on either side. I learned how to do this out of Sephora class when they taught me how to do my eyebrows, so that was great. So you just want to take a very, very little bit because it is so thick and pigmented. And then this is what I use just to fill in the bigger part of my brows. This is the thing that I'm still learning, is brows. I'm experimenting. I've gotten a lot better. I'm not perfect, but this is just how I did it for my wedding day. And again, everything stayed. It was miraculous. It was so humid, and I was shocked that my makeup stayed all day, but somehow it did, so follow these steps. Now that I use the pomade to give like the bigger fill, like fill it a little bit better, I go in with my Precisely My Brow Pencil from Benefit. Did I do that right? Oh, look at me. This one is so, so great. It has like the very finest point, and it's almost gone now, so you can't really see, but it's very, very tiny, and so it's perfect to just kind of fill in, and I like to kind of shape my brows with this, so I'll add a little more here because it is not as thick as the pomade. I'm able to kind of control the shape a little bit better. So I add a little bit of depth to them just for my face shape, because otherwise I get very squinty when I smile, so my eyes disappear. So I have noticed that having my brows defined just kind of helps pinpoint you to the right point of my face. Okay, and then bronzer. I was not for a very long time, because I'm so pale, I never really found a bronzer that I felt like wasn't such a stark difference on my skin. Funnily enough, these ones, I tried maybe 2 or 3 different brands from Ulta or Sephora. Didn't like a single one of them, and then the ones that ended up working were cheap. Super cheap from Target, super good, again with the e.l.f. brand. I used 2 different kinds. This one is a little bit darker and just like a more matte finish. And I used it to contour, and then I used a second one just kind of for like an all over color. This has a little bit more of that sheen to it, and then it's got 4 different colors, so it gives like a really nice well-rounded color, I think. So I start with this darker one. And I got this super cool like thick angle brush from Ulta. Again, I know I'm so fancy. And I just used a little bit of the bronzer to get a little contour here and here up on my forehead, just a smidge, and then a little bit on the sides of my nose. Then I'll go back in with this guy. I was a little worried to have a bronzer with a lot of shine to it because I just didn't know what I was going to do in pictures. So I think this combo kind of was the best of both worlds. So I took a round buffing brush here, and I get a little boop boop boop, and then so this allows me to like blend in my contour a little bit and then give a little bit more shape to my face. Bronzer. I will blend in a little bit more at the end because that was another thing I didn't want. I didn't want you to be able to see my stark makeup lines over here or on my cheeks because this was my wedding day. I wanted to look natural but like amped up beauty at the same time. So for blush, this is one I've heard from a few like influencers I follow on Instagram, beauty influencers. I absolutely love it. This is the Hourglass blush, and I bought the smaller one. There's like big packs you can get, but when I was sampling things and trying to not spend $1 million, this seemed great, and it's lasted me still, like it's still gonna last me for a long time. This is the diffused heat, so it has a little bit more red to it, which I really, really liked. And again, I used just a little buffer brush. And I'll go back in with like a not as dense, like angled brush, just to kind of blend it a little better. And then for highlight, this highlight, it's almost running out and I'm so sad. I've had it for so long, but I'm obviously gonna get another one. This is the RMS Beauty. You really can't see it because I think it's, yeah, oh, it's so crappy. The RMS Beauty, it's like their little highlight pots, and this is their one in Magic, of course, because it has to be called Magic. It's literally almost gone, but it is the greatest highlighter of all time. It's like a creamy highlighter, so I think it just really goes on really well. And I'll dab just a little bit on my cheekbones. So then for eyeshadow. So I got the Naked 3 from Urban Decay. It's mostly like pinks because my ring is rose gold and a lot of the wedding was like gold and rose gold, so I kind of wanted to keep with that pattern. Again, eyeshadow is another thing that I kind of make up along with my eyebrows. That's what works for me, but this is what worked on the day and I thought it turned out really well. Just enough drama, but also like pretty natural. I think having these colors was like a perfect combo. So let's start with a white here. And then I took this like very matte, like pink, peach pink color, and just put it on like the meaty part, that sounds gross, of my eyelid. Just to have like a matte base for everything else to go on. Next, I couldn't decide which one of these I liked, so I kind of do a little swipey combo just to get an all over shimmer. So I used, this one is called, oh gosh, Burnout and Dust or Dirt, unclear, but it's the second two. We're nailing it, beauty blogger. And then I did this all over my lid because I wanted a general shimmer. Because I love a shimmery eyeshadow moment. And then I took some of this gold here, which is the color, oh gosh, and they're all covered. Trick. Nailed it. with a little bit of this buzz. I'm all about combining colors because then you kind of get the perfect color that you want. And then this I used kind of all along the side and up through the crease. I have green eyes, so I really like to use complementary colors. So like pinks, purpley pinks really help to bring out my eyes. And this like pinky gold, this color here, the trick color I had used before doing my makeup for my wedding and loved how it, like, what it brings out in my face. And then I started a little bit. This is the one portion of my eye I've never quite been able to figure out how to do exactly. So I started from the bottom. Now here we go. Started with a little bit of like a browner color. This one's called Nooner. Right here, again with like a matte color, just so I could start shading in to give a little bit more definition, because again, like I said, my eyes get pretty squinty, and so I try my best to define them and make them look a little bit bigger. And I've noticed that adding color, a little bit more shadow, like through the corners and up through the crease just over here, kind of opens the whole thing, opens the whole face. Makeup artist. So I used a little part of this little brush to kind of dab it on, and then I'll blend it. And then I used another combo. A little bit of this guy here, Mugshot. And dark side, because have to have a little bit of the dark side. So that's this really dark one here. So since it's so dark, I just took a very little bit. I love a liquid eyeliner. This one is from Stila. It was recommended from one of the staff at Ulta, and I absolutely love it. It is the like finest point for a liquid liner like ever. And it's a felt tip. It goes on so smooth. And I just did like a smidge of a cat eye. I didn't want anything like crazy dramatic, but I know again it just kind of opens up my eyes a little bit. So. Lined my under eyes with this just a little bit because I wanted something very dramatic. I always have the issue with cat eyes that once I start, it gets uneven, and then so I have to add more, and then so it ends up this like super long moment. These aren't too bad. Okay, I almost forgot. Before lashes, mascara. Again, this is something I picked up from a professional in musical theater, I always tried to put on my lashes after, or my mascara after my lashes, and it would either pull the lashes off, or the lashes, I couldn't use them for very long because they would just get chunky and gross and terrible and full of mascara. And also when you put mascara on, it gives your lashes a bit of a shape so that you can see where to place the false eyelashes. So I use 2 different kinds. I've always used at least like 2 different mascaras in tandem. So I used It Cosmetics Superhero Mascara. It's amazing. This is a little sample I got. And then I used the Falsies Waterproof for the day of. So that, again, I didn't want anything to move, and it didn't, which is great. So... little bit of waterproof underneath my eyes because that's where I notice I get the most like smearing, and so I just used a little bit of waterproof underneath my lashes. So for lashes, I love lashes. I have been taught by many a professional different ways to put them on. It takes a lot of practice. I've gotten decently good at it over the years, from years and years of putting them on for shows. One of my major tips is to cut them because they come really, really long, and they always end up like falling off or poking me in the eye, and then I hate them. But if I cut them so that they land kind of like right here and then give me the most drama over on the outside of my eye, that seems to work more. And I use this Kiss Strip Lash Adhesive with Aloe in black. One of my friends gave me this tip a long time ago because the black blends in with your liner, though it will get anywhere. So if you move and you smack the rest of your eye, you're going to have a black mark. You can get it off, but it's like eyeliner. You need makeup remover. So you have to be careful, but I think it gives a really, really seamless line. And this, I'll just put a very little bit on the edge and then let it dry a little bit. Let's see if you can see. So that's a one major difference with the black adhesive, is that I don't want to use a whole bunch. Not that you would with like a clear adhesive, but you want to be careful because it is going to make a line. So I'll let it dry a little. That's one big thing. Letting your lash glue get tacky before you put it on your eye is going to help a lot because it will stick. Whereas if you put it on right away, it's going to slide all over because it's not tacky yet. I just recently have started putting my lashes on with tweezers. I didn't used to before. I used to use my fingers, which still works, but I did notice that this gives me a little bit more precision when I place it. Sorry, I'm gonna lean away because my mirror's over here, and some people don't like eye stuff. So I'll usually generally place them like right away and then scoot them if I need to. That's where the tweezer comes in handy, so I can scoot this one over a little bit more, and then I think I'll thicken up my liner just to make that line. So I just went back in with my liner and made sure that it lined up, it equaled where my lash hits, so that you don't get a big meh and then no liner, so that it just continues that line all the way along. Oh, I love a lash. Last but not least is lipstick. So line my lips a little. I like to overdraw my lips just a smidge because I have very thin lips, but I don't want them to look like too crazy fake. So then I used my favorite lipstick of all time, Maybelline Super Stay Matte Ink. Stays all day. It's fantastic in Self Starter. used like a light coat of that. And then on top of it, I used another one of my favorite lipstick brands is Stila. And this color is the Palermo, and this is their Stay All Day liquid lipstick. I've used this for years as well. And I just found that these two combined were super great. Again, I wouldn't use thick layers. I'd use a thin layer of each because they are like stains essentially. Sometimes they can get a little crispy, but I've noticed if I use like a thin layer and then let it dry and then immediately put on a little bit of chapstick, it's perfect. Set everything together, I used my tried and true Urban Decay All-Nighter Setting Spray. This is one that I found at the checkout because I sometimes like to buy like the smaller versions of things if I'm trying to save money or to try them out. And this one I just absolutely love. I've used it. I discovered it when I was doing hairspray like a million years ago, and it is a miracle. And again, like I said, my makeup stayed all day long. I didn't retouch it one time. Not even once. I had planned on doing that, but I didn't once because it just was such a stressful day. But luckily, my makeup, through the humidity, through the rain, through the crying, through everything, stayed all day. So I think it's all these products. It just was perfect. Have it. I hope that this is helpful to at least someone. This is something that I was, like I said, I was looking for when I was looking to do my makeup for my wedding, because I was not an expert and I could watch as many YouTube videos as I wanted, but I wanted to know that someone of my level could do it and it would still turn out well, and it did. And so these are, I'm going to link all the products that I used because I think that they are all fantastic and all, you know, led to my makeup being what it was and staying all day and me feeling beautiful. So I hope that this is helpful to someone. If you have any questions or if you want to like chat with me about doing your makeup for your wedding and like the ins and outs, let me know. Send me a message on here on Instagram at The Glitter Warrior. I would love to hear from you guys, and thanks for watching. YouTube, here we come. Thanks for watching.